How did men in prehistoric times fight battles or wage war? Were their conflicts merely skirmishes like in modern primitive societies, or did they fight in organized fashion? Some believe that these men lived their lives in mostly peaceful environments, but will the evidence show prehistoric man was warlike and aggressive? And finally, did organized warfare come from the creation of civilized men, a brutal byproduct of the emergence of civilization in the ancient Near East? To start, there is no evidence for the practice of war before the late Paleolithic Age. A few weapons are known to have been used much earlier. Stones and clubs, man-made pebble choppers, and the spear were available for hundreds of thousands of years, perhaps millions. They were definitely used in hunting game, and probably in attacks between men, but there is not definitive evidence. The famous Paleolithic cave paintings of France and Spain, dating from the period of 30,000 to 20,000 years ago, show no certain scenes of man killed by man. Mainly, they depict several thousand animals. A tiny number appear to be pictures of men dying from wounds inflicted by spears or arrows, but they are so badly drawn that not a single one can be certainly identified as a wounded or dead man. As for the bow and arrow, it's possible that it goes back into the Paleolithic Age, perhaps as far back as 50,000 years ago, but there is no clear proof of it. Stone darts, sometimes called arrowheads, were made during the Paleolithic Age, but they were not necessarily attached to arrows fired from a bow. They may simply have been points inserted in spearheads or throwing darts. No one knows where the bow and arrow were invented, but it appears most likely that they first came into use at the end of the Paleolithic Age, after the period of the cave paintings. This new weapon spread quickly around the Mediterranean, then slowly around the world, from one prehistoric culture to another. It's not clear whether the New World bow reached America as a result of cultural diffusion from other parts of the world, or whether the bow was spontaneously invented in several different locations. Most forms of the bow appeared in the Neolithic period, even the composite bow. The significance of the bow in prehistoric warfare was enormous, as it provided a revolutionary increase in range and volume of firepower. Before the introduction of the bow, long-range firepower was provided by the thrown spear. The spear was sometimes thrown with the help of an atlatl, a device that extended the man's forearm and gave the spear more range, accuracy, and power. However, the bow more than doubled the range of the spear, and since the arrow was much smaller and easier to carry, it was able to deliver a much greater volume of fire against the enemy. Neolithic men could take position in a line and fire on command, unleashing a powerful barrage of arrows. Almost simultaneously, other new and important weapons appeared in the late Paleolithic or Neolithic periods. The dagger, the sling, and the mace were found at Çatalhöyük in Anatolia, dating from around 7000 BC. The sling is an especially important weapon, deadlier and with greater range and accuracy than the early simple bow. Projectiles for slings can vary dramatically in size from pebbles to fist-sized stones. The larger missiles can smash skulls and break bones, even against armor. Also, at least by the Neolithic Age, man learned how to put bashing weapons made of stone onto wooden handles. The Indian tomahawk is the classic example, but around the ancient Mediterranean the mace was more common, although battle axes were used as well. As for Neolithic battles, the question is, were they true organized warfare, comparable to that practiced in civilized societies? The elementary basic requirement for true war is the ability to form troops in column and line. If not, it's difficult to describe the force as an army. Forming a column and holding a line requires teamwork, training, and discipline. As for this criteria, there is evidence to show that during the Neolithic Age, man learned to fight in an organized fashion. Neolithic rock art discovered in eastern Spain showcased numerous scenes of violence and battle. Some of the art arrangements make it unclear whether any organized warfare is depicted, yet other elements point to coordinated attacks, if not actual military tactics. One in particular shows warriors forming a line, firing on command, and marching in column behind a leader who was wearing a distinctive headdress that distinguished him from the rest of the troops. Also, one painting may possibly even show Neolithic warriors executing a pincer movement. Depictions distinguishing figures within formations on the battlefield suggest a kind of leadership, as do the portrayal of execution squads. This suggests some sort of agreed-upon social norms governed by key individuals. The ordered arrangement of the groups involved in battle suggests knowledge of combat tactics and perhaps battle training. An example is a scene drawn where archers are shown with bows raised, arranged in 2 ranks, and protecting others in the rear guard. Few variations in weaponry are observed over time, with the bow and arrow prevailing throughout. The most significant new weapon appearing is possibly a boomerang being depicted on a later panel, with quivers of arrows appearing at the same time. Although an uncommon weapon in the Spanish panels, the boomerang's use seems to be in long-distance attacks, but its effectiveness in battle is questionable at best. The few scenes depicting close combat suggest that short-range dagger-like weapons might have been used. When it comes to Neolithic buildings and fortifications, they also suggest teamwork and leadership, discipline and order. Earlier, in Paleolithic times, men used natural shelters for protection against animals and enemies. Caves, forests, rivers, and deserts all served as defensive barriers. But with the introduction of long-range missiles in the form of arrows and slingstones, followed by the need to produce food in an agricultural settlement, man had to build artificial barriers, usually high walls, for defense. Neolithic fortifications were sometimes massive. The walls of Jericho in the Middle East were 10 feet thick and 13 or more feet high. A 28-foot tower that was 33 feet in diameter with a central stairway and an entrance at the bottom was attached to the wall. The wall is believed to have extended about 765 yards and enclosed an area of approximately 10 acres. Although Jericho eventually became a settled agricultural community, it first attracted residents as a hunting site. To protect themselves against invaders, the inhabitants built the wall. Evidence now indicates that the wall went up before the cultivation of plants. It has been suggested that the military need for fortified defense against the new projectile weapons forced man to settle down and led to the discovery of agriculture. Behind the new walls, Neolithic people could store surpluses of food, and because they could fall back behind the walls for protection, they could work the land outside of them with some sense of security. A quite different form of military defense is seen in the architecture of Çatalhöyük. There were no massive outside walls, but the houses were all interconnected, sharing contiguous inner walls. Entry into the rooms was through holes in the roofs reached by ladder. As a result, the line of the outside walls of the rooms around the settlement formed a kind of fortification. When attackers approached, the inhabitants could simply climb up their ladders, retrieve them, and if an invader broke through a wall, he simply found himself in a single room. Many other Neolithic settlements in the Near East were protected by fortifications of one kind or another. Prehistoric armies were capable of practicing warfare in a highly sophisticated fashion, as men can be organized effectively for war in groups of less than 500. Even the tribes in the Hawaiian Islands had considerable armies for their populations. Some of the northwest coast Indian tribes had populations of about 10,000. In the eastern Mediterranean, as early as the 7th millennium BC, 5,000 to 6,000 people may have lived at Çatalhöyük in modern Turkey, and the population of Jericho at about 8,000 BC has been estimated at 2,000, with a possible defending force of 500 to 600 men. At the beginning of the Neolithic period in the Near East, some armies may have numbered up to 1,000 or so, and by the end of the period, somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 men. Armies of that size compare with full-scale historic armies of a much later period. As prehistory came to an end with the emergence of civilization in Mesopotamia and along the Nile, warfare played a critical role in the formation of the new states. When primitive societies became developing states, military institutions were essential. Early Egyptian history testifies to the importance of armies. Even before the unification of the two kingdoms in the pre-dynastic period, images show both fortified towns under siege and the spoils of war from the battle. The first of the Egyptian pharaohs, on the Narmer palette, is shown on one side in the act of slaying an opponent, and on the other he is reviewing the headless bodies of his enemies under the standards of his army. In Mesopotamia, the war chariot was used as early as 3000 to 2500 BC, and in both Egypt and Mesopotamia, the weapons arsenal was highly developed with new arms and armor made of bronze. While the bow and arrow was used extensively in Egypt, in Mesopotamia, Sumerian infantrymen were armed with javelins, spears, daggers, and swords. In both regions, other prehistoric weapons, such as maces and battle axes, were widely used. In Mesopotamia especially, siege warfare and fortification were highly developed. By the 2nd millennium BC, armies of 20,000 men marched distances of hundreds of miles, with a logistical support system that came with it. Warfare had emerged from prehistory.